My beloved child, there is something quite unusual about the quiet that surrounds your name at this very moment. And if you listen closely, you will start to understand why this time matters more than you may realize. Someone you care about deeply has been standing inside a space of feelings, reflection, and uncertainty. And beside that person are two voices, two different views, two different opinions, two people who see you in completely opposite ways. One speaks with confidence while the other speaks with care. And what they have been saying has built a tension that has not yet reached your ears, but it is already shaping what happens next. Do not skip because something important is waiting for you. And every moment of this matters more than it first appears. There are conversations happening when you are not around. And what makes this so unusual is that your name enters those conversations carrying unexpected weight. It is not said casually, it is not mentioned lightly. Every word tied to you is measured, almost as if each line must be weighed before it leaves the mouth. One of those friends believes there is something special about you, something hard to describe yet impossible to miss. That person notices things others often overlook. The way you carry quiet strength, the way you keep moving forward even after disappointment, the way your presence leaves thoughts in people long after you have stepped out of the room. But the other friend speaks differently. The second voice carries concern, not because they dislike you, but because they fear what your presence might awaken. They believe being close to you changes things faster than expected. They think feelings grow deeper. They think choices become harder once your name settles fully inside someone's heart. That is why the talk has become intense. These are not surface-level thoughts. These are strong beliefs built from watching, remembering, and noticing moments you may never have realized were being noticed. Stay until the end, because something hidden is slowly starting to reveal itself. What makes this even more meaningful is that the person you love has not silenced either voice. They have listened carefully to both sides. Every sentence has reached them deeply. Every opinion has created another question inside their heart. They are hearing admiration from one side and hesitation from the other. And somewhere between those two voices, they are trying to understand what they truly feel. Not long ago, there was a moment when your name appeared unexpectedly and everything changed at once. The air shifted. The room no longer felt ordinary. A pause filled the space. A glance was exchanged. One friend leaned forward and said that your heart is much deeper than most people realize, that you carry many things quietly, and that your silence often speaks louder than words. The other friend replied that such depth can be hard because not everyone knows how to handle someone who carries so much feeling without speaking every emotion aloud. Yet even then, your name stayed at the center of the discussion. Do not skip, because the next part is where the truth becomes even clearer. The person you love remembers moments connected to you that they have never fully shared with anyone. A small sentence you once spoke, a look that lasted a little longer than expected, a moment when you seemed ordinary to everyone else but unforgettable to them. Those memories returned while the two friends were speaking, and that is why their opinions suddenly carried more weight than before. One friend believes your presence represents safety. The other believes your presence represents change. One says you remain genuine even when people misunderstand you. The other says people like you are impossible to forget, and that forgetting creates complications nobody is ready for. And while they kept speaking, the person you love became quieter and quieter, because hidden inside their silence was a thought they never shared aloud. Why does your name still affect everything? Something meaningful is waiting for you, because the conversation did not end there. There is another reason those opinions became so strong. Recently, something shifted in the way they see you. A small detail revealed more than anyone expected. Perhaps it was your patience. Perhaps it was your distance. Perhaps it was the way you refused to chase attention when others would have tried much harder. Whatever it was, it made both friends realize that your worth is not loud. It reveals itself slowly, and once it is found, it becomes hard to overlook. That is why one friend became firm and said that losing a connection with you would be a mistake. The other answered carefully and said that closeness to you may awaken feelings that cannot easily be controlled. Do you see how rare that is? Two people, both serious, both watching the same person, both arriving at powerful conclusions, yet reaching there from completely different directions. Stay until the end, because something deeper is still unfolding. The person you love has now started comparing every opinion they hear with what they personally know about you. And here is what they can no longer deny. Every time they try to place you into an ordinary category, something stops them. Something about you refuses to become simple in their mind. There is mystery around your timing, mystery around your silence, mystery around the way certain parts of you become clearer only after distance enters the picture. That is why these two friends keep returning to the subject. One believes many people misunderstand you because they only see the surface. The other believes anyone who gets close enough will eventually find that your emotional impact is much stronger than expected. And now, because of these two opinions, the person you love is looking again at moments they almost ignored in the past. Do not skip. Stay until the end. Something important is waiting for you, because one sentence changed everything. During that conversation, one friend quietly asked, "If this person means so little, then why do you become silent every time their name is mentioned?" No answer came right away. That silence itself became the answer everyone noticed. Suddenly, the discussion was no longer only about opinions. It became about a truth hidden beneath uncertainty. The person you love looked away, but inside memories were already speaking louder than the voices around them. Certain moments returned. Certain feelings became impossible to deny. And now both friends know there is more inside that heart than has ever been admitted openly. This is why your name has stayed in that space. This is why the opinions have become stronger. And this is why the next chapter may surprise more people than anyone expects, because sometimes two different voices do not create confusion at all. Sometimes they reveal what someone has been trying the hardest not to admit. Stay prepared, because what comes after this silence may carry more meaning than anything spoken before. But listen carefully, because what happened after that silence revealed even more than the conversation itself. The person you love did not immediately defend you. They did not immediately explain you. They did not change the subject the way people often do when something holds no importance. Instead, there was a pause that lasted longer than expected. And within that pause, both friends realized they had touched something genuine, something deeper than simple curiosity, something that had been resting quietly inside the heart for much longer than anyone had admitted. Do not skip, because something meaningful is waiting for you. One of those friends leaned closer and spoke with unusual confidence, saying that your presence carries a kind of memory that refuses to disappear easily. They explained that even when time passes and countless distractions appear, certain people remain impossible to set aside, and somehow your name keeps returning in moments when nobody expects it. The person you love heard those words and became even more silent because they matched something already hidden inside. The second friend replied differently. That voice said, "Your quiet nature makes people underestimate how deeply you influence situations. According to that opinion, you do not always speak loudly. Yet your absence becomes noticeable the moment you are gone, and that is what has created such powerful thoughts around you. Not what you make people feel directly, but what remains behind when you say very little. Stay until the end, because the next detail changed the air completely. A memory surfaced during that conversation. One small moment tied to you that neither friend had forgotten. It may have looked ordinary when it happened, but now it returned with surprising strength. A sentence you once spoke with calm honesty, a reaction you gave without trying to impress anyone, a moment when your sincerity appeared so naturally that it remained in the minds of those who witnessed it. Suddenly, that old memory became evidence in the conversation. Proof that there is more to you than most people understand at first glance. And this is where the opinions became even stronger. One friend said, "Your heart seems loyal even when life becomes uncertain." The other replied, "Loyalty like that builds powerful attachment because people rarely meet it and often do not know how to respond when they finally do." The person you love listened carefully to both views, but something very important happened. Instead of pushing those words away, they slowly started agreeing with parts they had never openly admitted before. Do not skip. Stay until the end. Something big is waiting for you because after that your name was mentioned once again, but this time it carried real emotion. There was no joking, no distraction, only seriousness. One friend asked whether they had ever noticed how differently they speak when talking about you compared to everyone else. That question hit deeply because the truth could no longer be avoided. Even the smallest details about you receive unusual attention. Tiny things become unforgettable. Ordinary moments gain meaning long after they happen. And this is exactly why those two friends now hold such firm views. They have watched how your name changes the air around the person you love. One believes this connection deserves to be understood before it is dismissed. The other believes dismissing it may already be impossible. And the person you love now realizes both voices may be seeing different parts of the same truth. Stay until the end, because something hidden is starting to rise. There is also something you may not know. Recently, someone brought up your name unexpectedly during another conversation, and once again the reaction was immediate. There was no warning, no preparation. Yet your name created that same pause all over again. The kind of pause that cannot be acted out or faked. That silence revealed more than words ever could. Because when someone means very little, the heart stays calm and ordinary. But when someone means much more, silence becomes noticeable. That silence happened once again, and both friends noticed it at once. Now they are paying close attention because they understand that something about you continues reaching places that logic alone cannot fully explain. One friend believes this means your importance is becoming stronger. The other says this means the feelings are already much further along than anyone wants to admit. Do not skip because something big is waiting for you. The strongest moment came when one of those friends quietly asked, "If there is nothing special here, then why does your expression change every time the future is mentioned with that person?" No quick answer followed. There was only thought, only reflection. Only that same silence that keeps revealing more than words ever could. And within that silence, memories returned once again. Moments when your kindness stood out clearly, moments when your patience became impossible to ignore, moments when your absence felt longer than expected. This is why the opinions stay strong. This is why your name carries weight. And this is why the person you love has started questioning what they tried so hard to keep simple. Because sometimes outside voices do not create confusion. Sometimes they reveal what the heart has already been whispering quietly for a very long time. Stay until the end. Something big is waiting for you. The conversation has not truly ended. In reality, it has only made everything stronger. Because now every new moment connected to you is being noticed more carefully than before. Every small sign matters, every tone matters, every unexpected memory matters. And the most surprising part is this: One of those friends now believes a moment is approaching when everything hidden will become difficult to hide any longer, not because anyone forces it to happen, but because truth eventually becomes stronger than hesitation. And when that moment arrives, the person you love may finally understand why two different opinions about you have both remained impossible to ignore. And now something even more unexpected is happening because those two strong opinions have started shaping the way your name is heard when you are not around. The person you love no longer hears your name as something ordinary. Every mention now carries significance, as though each word connected to you arrives with a deeper meaning waiting to be understood. Do not skip because something big is waiting for you. One of those friends recently returned to the subject again, even though nobody planned to discuss it. That alone was unusual. Out of many possible topics, your name returned naturally, almost as if unfinished thoughts refused to remain silent. The first friend spoke confidently and said, "There is something rare about people who leave a feeling of peace behind them even after they leave a room. According to that friend, you do exactly that. Your presence does not disappear when you walk away. It remains. It stays in people's minds longer than expected." The second friend replied more thoughtfully, saying that what makes you different is not only what people see right away, but what they slowly discover later. According to that opinion, your greatest qualities are often hidden at first, and that is why people's views about you become stronger over time instead of weaker. The person you love listened once again. But this time, there was no effort to change the subject. No interruption, only attention. Stay until the end, because the next part explains why this conversation has become impossible to forget. A very small moment was mentioned, something almost forgotten until now. It was a time when you reacted with genuine sincerity while everyone else expected something completely different. That moment seemed simple at the time, but now both friends view it as important proof. One said that moment showed your heart speaks honestly even when you say very little. The other said, honesty like that creates trust without ever asking for attention. And suddenly your image became stronger in the conversation than ever before. The person you love remembered that exact moment immediately. The memory returned so clearly that silence appeared again. Do not skip. Stay until the end. Something big is waiting for you. Because after that silence, one friend asked a question that changed everything. Why does every conversation about this person become deeper than expected? No answer arrived quickly, because some answers cannot be said without revealing too much. The person you love looked thoughtful, almost as if trying to protect something personal. While both friends kept watching closely, they already understood that your name had entered a place where feelings could no longer easily pretend to be neutral. One friend believes you represent a kind of peace that is difficult to find. The other believes that peace becomes unforgettable once someone truly experiences it. And now, both opinions live inside the same heart, creating thoughts that grow stronger every single day. Stay until the end, because something hidden is beginning to move. There was another surprising detail. Recently, when someone else spoke positively about you, the reaction appeared immediately once again. Not dramatic, not loud, but impossible to miss. Attention sharpened. Listening became deeper. Even a small compliment connected to you suddenly seemed more important than expected. That was when one friend quietly smiled and said that reactions never lie. Those words remained in the air because reactions reveal what words often try to hide. The person you love heard that and became even quieter, knowing that silence itself had become noticeable evidence. Do not skip because something big is waiting for you. The first friend then shared something powerful. Some people enter a person's life gently, but later become impossible to replace in thought. That statement was about you, even without directly saying your name. The second friend added that some names begin softly but eventually carry emotional weight that surprises everyone. And once again, your name remained at the center of everything. The person you love did not deny any of it. Instead, there was a long pause followed by a quiet breath, the kind of breath people take when truth feels very close. Stay until the end, because this is where everything becomes even more intense. The reason those two opinions keep growing is simple. Every new memory connected to you confirms something they already suspect. Your kindness is remembered. Your patience is remembered. Even moments where you barely spoke are remembered with unusual clarity. And now one of those friends believes an important conversation is coming. One where your name will no longer be discussed only as an idea, but as someone whose place has become too meaningful to overlook. That thought has already started changing how the person you love views everything connected to you. Because once two outside voices point toward the same truth from different directions, it becomes harder and harder to pretend that nothing important is happening. Do not skip. Stay until the end. Something big is waiting for you. The most surprising part is that one friend no longer speaks with any doubt at all. That voice has become completely certain that whatever is growing around your name is not temporary. The second friend still speaks carefully, but even that caution now carries quiet admiration. And somewhere between certainty and caution, the person you love is beginning to understand that your presence has already left a much deeper mark than anyone expected. That is why the silence keeps returning. That is why your name keeps appearing again and again. And that is why the next moment may finally carry the answer everyone has been waiting for, moving around in circles without fully speaking the truth out loud. Then a moment arrived that nobody really expected, because the discussion about you came back once again. But this time, it carried a very different feeling, quieter on the outside, yet much deeper underneath. It was no longer simply two people sharing opinions. It had become something much closer to a realization, as if both friends had reached a stage where they could no longer ignore what your name continues to stir within them. Do not skip because something big is waiting for you. One of those friends started by saying that some people are talked about often because they are loud and noticeable, but others are talked about because their presence keeps creating questions long after they have gone. And according to that voice, you belong to the second group. You are not remembered because of noise or attention. You are remembered because certain moments connected to you simply refused to disappear. The second friend, who had once spoken very carefully, did not disagree this time. Instead, that voice admitted that every new detail connected to you somehow adds strength to what had already been noticed before. Small moments become meaningful later. Quiet experiences become unforgettable later. Even the simplest interactions seem to grow larger when remembered after enough time has passed. The person you love listened with complete focus. Stay until the end, because the next thought changed everything once again. A recent memory appeared unexpectedly, one that had never been mentioned before. It was a moment where your kindness showed itself naturally without effort or planning, and both friends remembered it clearly. One of them said that this is exactly why opinions about you keep becoming stronger, because what you give often looks simple in the beginning, but later reveals a depth that people fail to understand at the time. The other friend added that very few people carry sincerity in a way that stays believable every single time they are remembered. Yet somehow, your image continues returning with the same feeling each time. Steady, genuine, difficult to ignore. That statement lingered in the air, and once again, silence arrived. Do not skip. Stay until the end. Something big is waiting for you because now the silence was no longer uncertain. It felt thoughtful, almost as though the person you love had stopped resisting what both voices were trying to show. One friend looked directly and asked whether they had noticed how often your name now appears during quiet moments, even when nobody intentionally brings you into the conversation. There was no quick answer, but there was no denial either. And that mattered more than any words, because silence, when repeated enough times, begins to speak for itself. One friend now openly believes that you have become emotionally important in a way that cannot be explained through ordinary reasons. The other believes that this kind of importance becomes visible when even simple questions about the future suddenly begin to feel heavier than before. And that is exactly what has started happening. Stay until the end, because something hidden is slowly moving closer to the surface. The person you love has started noticing private reactions that even they cannot fully understand. A small mention of you changes their attention. A memory connected to you interrupts their thoughts without warning. A simple detail becomes something worth revisiting later. These are no longer random moments. These are signs that your place in their heart has become stronger than expected. One friend finally said what had been building for a very long time. There is a reason this person remains in your thoughts, even when life is filled with many other things. That statement carried unusual weight because it was not answered with words. It was answered with another silence deeper than the one before. Do not skip, because something big is waiting for you. And then came the most surprising part. The cautious friend, the one who had hesitated the most in the past, admitted that your presence may actually be the reason certain feelings have become more difficult to explain recently. That admission changed everything, because now both voices, despite being different, were pointing toward the same truth. One clearly sees your value, the other clearly sees your emotional impact. And together, those two perspectives leave very little room for pretending that your name means nothing. The person you love understands this far more than before, even if nothing has been fully spoken aloud yet. Stay until the end, because the next realization carries great power. What makes everything stronger is that your name no longer arrives by itself. It arrives together with memories, feelings, and reflection. Every mention now brings something deeper with it. A look remembered, a tone remembered, a moment remembered, and one friend quietly said that when someone keeps returning to your thoughts this naturally, it usually means the heart recognized something important long before the mind was willing to accept it. That statement remained unanswered as well, because deep inside it had already been understood. Do not skip. Stay until the end. Something big is waiting for you. Now, both friends are paying close attention, not because they want to interfere, but because they sense that a moment is approaching when hidden truth may no longer remain hidden. They know something is slowly building. They know your name carries more meaning now than it once did, and the person you love knows it too. That is why your name keeps returning. That is why silence keeps appearing, and that is why the next chapter may finally reveal why two strong opinions about you became impossible to ignore at the same time. Now everything has reached a stage where even the smallest detail connected to you feels impossible to overlook, because those two voices that once sounded separate have started echoing the same conclusion in different ways. Your presence has become much more important than anyone expected at the beginning. Do not skip, because something big is waiting for you. The person you love recently heard your name again during an ordinary moment. Yet nothing about the reaction felt ordinary. It was brief, almost invisible to anyone who was not paying attention. But both friends noticed it at once. A small pause.